Hey guys, Darth Sebious here with a new video series which I'm going to be doing called Chronic Casual. So basically, as a few of you know, I've been away for about 2 months. I've been back for a week or so now, but I had a really bad flare-up of my chronic fatigue, and I was basically just whacked out, unable to really do anything other than escape into video games. And I spend a lot of time playing video games and watching other people play video games, and kind of my way of looking at games and how the things I wanted to do with games changed quite dramatically, or I kind of came to a understanding. Basically, I just want to play games for fun. I realised that I will forever, or chronically, will be a casual, and I just want to have fun and maybe talk about games in a casual way, and sort of do some little reviews and recommendations in these videos, based really on how fun I find the game, how accessible it is for either casual people or people with some kind of chronic illness or chronic difficulty. Just so games are more accessible and more fun. That's the things I'm going to be focusing on when I talk about them and do these reviews. So without further ado, let's get on with the first one. And I have already talked about this game in a couple of videos before, and I promise this is nearly the last time that I will talk about it, and that is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. There is Geralt looking all cool and stuff there. So, The Witcher 3 is The Wild Hunt is the third installment of the Witcher saga, following Geralt of Rivia. Just quick overview, Witchers are mutated, but essentially orphans brought to a special castle, given mutations and put through trials to give them signs of magic powers, abilities to see in the dark and track better, and essentially making them far stronger and better to recuperate from things. Basically, because they need to go out and hunt monsters and all evil magical things which have been brought into the world from essentially another world or another dimension. There was an alignment of the spheres in the world that which takes place in a long time ago, and the two worlds kind of crossed over, and the magical beasties essentially got into the actual world itself, where they weren't before, where Geralt and everyone finds themselves. So witches are not necessarily liked, and they're kind of looked down upon as being freaks with their bright kind of cat eyes and distinctive white hair in some cases, or scars and other possible mutations in magic signifying them. But always you can be seeing them with their steel and silver swords. Steel for people who don't pay and people who are very naughty, and steel for evil, magical, nasty things. So that's basically what witches are, and we are in the third and presumably final installment of the Witcher story. I'm not really sure what happened in the first one, but I did play through the second one as it was free on Games of Gold, and that's a great game that I highly recommend you check out. It's not necessarily the most accessible though. It is very difficult combat, but wonderful story and stuff. But basically, Geralt seems to always try and stay neutral in grand situations and gets himself embroiled in some kind of revolution or some kind of thing that is going to be very important to the entire state of the world. And this is no more true than in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Basically, he is on an epic quest to catch up with his surrogate daughter, Ciri, the surrogate daughter of him and his on again, off again lover, Yennefer. It's also important to mention that both witches and witchers are all sterile presumably by the magic that they use, or some reason to do with that they aren't able to have kids. So Yennefer and Geralt, they adopted Ciri, as we can see here, looking rather epically witchery herself, and he basically has to try and find her because she is very, very, very special and a key to something that may very well be happening. And while he is doing that, as have been mentioned previously in the other games, he is being pursued and trying to pursue the Wild Hunt. And the Wild Hunt seemed to be an elven race from another dimension or another world, possibly where the monsters originally originated from, and they appear in kind of horrific, demonic kind of form with armor and just skulls, and just generally badass looking things with big elemental demon hounds, and basically lots of frost or lots of fire. They're big into frost and fire. So while you're with him, you go on, you meet up with various of his friends and other characters from the previous games, do some tasks for those and kind of help them free. But as you just generally explore the world, there are a number of large storylines which are seriously engaging, and some really great stuff. It's kind of like watching or playing through Game of Thrones, but with actually getting to do the hacking and slashing yourself. And there are choices being made along the way. It's not quite the scope of Mass Effect or something even deeper than that, because I know Mass Effect does get criticised for basically, yay, I'll give you a hug, or I'm going to punch you in the face, or I'm going to go, I did nothing and walk off. This is more, everything is grey in The Witcher, not just his grey-white hair. But generally you either go in a nice way, or in not such a nice way. That's how it goes. But there are things that affect it, and essentially the fate of some of the very important characters can be decided by whether you are nice to them or not nice to them, or ask them to come with you, or do all sorts of things. But essentially, Geralt goes off on his adventure, and while he's adventuring, trying to track down Ciri, he is taking on contracts and dealing with monsters and things in the area. So you use magic, you use special oils and lotions that go on your blades, specific to certain creatures. And this essentially builds... There's many different ways that you can be played, and you can level up the character, whether you want to be focusing on the magic and abilities that way, or whether you want to be really into using the swords, or there are other ways that are big in the alchemy and using potions and things. So first of all, it's just a huge game. I spent 179 hours in my completed playthrough, and it was just marvellous. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I can't wait to really get into it again, because there are other ways things could happen. I was kind of as nice as I could be, so I'd like to see how some of the more negative choices play out. There's just so much. There are places to explore. There's the main storylines. There's interesting things involving barons, there's many witches. There's old friends, pubs. There's races, fist fights. There's all sorts of armors to go and find and leveling yourself up. It's just the 179 hours. I probably could have spent more, and so it was just a wonderful sync. I spent about a month, just nothing, just zoned out in the world. It was very pretty, very similar to the way Skyrim had kind of looked after me and nurtured me when I was really unable to do many other things. So in the fact that it's beautiful and you get to explore outside, that can be amazing for people who are possibly housebound, or possibly very having difficulties getting outside the house with anxiety or things. So there's a feeling of wonderful exploring and seeing beautiful different places, which is really lovely. There are 4 different difficulties, basically easy, normal, hard, and very hard. It apparently is recommended that you play it on the hard setting, which is Blood and Broken Bones, I believe. And this is where this kind of game does get quite difficult in the offing. The combat system both is different from the previous game, and than you might necessarily expect straight away, with kind of light attack, heavy attack, dodging, rolling, and then obviously the magical powers as well. So I would recommend, if you are very casual, or you are slightly impeded, to start on even lower levels. And I think you might be able to change the difficulty as you go through the game. But the combat is something you need to definitely spend some time getting your head around, because there is a steep learning curve indeed. One of the first things you come up against are a bunch of drowners, which are kind of evil merfolk type people that can also be above ground as well as underwater, sorry. And when you're fighting groups, you can very easily find yourselves very much outnumbered, and also pincered and basically stabbed to bits or torn apart while you're trying to take on things. So definitely would recommend lots of dodging and lots of making yourself a fay with the commands and how the game plays, because that's the big part of it. You're essentially going through the world, hacking and slashing and going and getting embroiled in these fantastic and interesting stories. Essentially, so one of the things I'm going to do in these Chronic Casual reviews is something that it reminds me of. And I said this very much of The Witcher 2, and it sort of, I think, holds true to The Witcher 3. In some ways, it does remind me of Dark Souls. The combat has some similarities in the way that the combat and the melee attacks and the magic kind of work. And the way I would say it, this kind of reminds me of, it's like a Dark Souls without the implied story, with the story being very much there. The world is so rich, and the amount of notes and books and things you can read and places you can go and people that you can speak to is just incredible. So kind of Dark Souls-ish combat, which can be very difficult. That's definitely something to get used to when you first start playing. But then you've just got this wonderful, huge world to explore. And it really is wonderful, and it just gives you time. You have time to go and search all over the place and just delve into things, and then you obviously will get better the more you play as it goes. And then it does start to get much easier as you pick up more potions and you start realizing how the potions and the oils interact with your weapons and the specific enemies, and using the bestiary and things to find what is the most appropriate bombs or traps or all other things to use against the variety of monsters and ghoulies and just general nasty chaps that you come across. I just absolutely loved it. I can't think of anything more I can try to say that it was one of my favourite games I've ever played, and I do not feel cheated at all by my 179 hours that I put in, and I'm sure I'll put in a good few more when the DLC starts to come out in October, and there's a good few big ones planned, and I can't wait. Probably will start again with one of those. And also, speaking of DLC, it's had, and I'm not sure if they've all out so far, but there's been a bunch of new skins and missions and weapons and armor that have been added just for free, so anyone even without a season pass and things can download that. So I thoroughly recommend you checking that out if you have picked up the game or are thinking about picking up the game. This is just an epic fantasy questing adventure, hacky slashy, searchy, get embroiled in crazy things that are going on, politics, and just on a full-on world scale, and also in a smaller scales. You start in one small area, and then the world branches out to 3 more much larger areas, which have very, very different looks, very, very different sort of people and situations. And then there is kind of a 5th area, which is more small and self-contained later in the game. I just can't recommend it more. I will, however, say that one thing that people talk about this game is there are 36 endings. Now, this is something I take a little bit of umbrage with, and I'm not quite sure exactly how that works. So there are, when I talk about the larger storylines that aren't necessarily the overarching storyline that's what feed into it, there are major kind of subplots going on. How those subplots end, or how your choices cause those to end, does seem to factor into this number of 36 endings. It also, there are big effects on who survives and how things go down. Through your choices throughout the game, there's a big effect on the ending. But the endings themselves, these 36 endings there's 36 factors to the endings rather than 36 endings. And it's not like a whole different end to the game when it comes to like necessarily a video that you see, or the situation that you are left with, or how you play through the end of it. Basically, the game plays through the end one way, basically every which way you play it. That will be affected whether certain people are alive or not by your choices, but you'll still be going through the same path, or possibly the romances, or depending on how much of a Lothario and how honest you are with your partners, that could also be a contributing factor. But also, a lot of these factors come in one of the kind of sketchy animated update videos you get at certain points during the Witcher games, and these kind of just really kind of run down the points of what's happened to you. So, and how your results have your choices have affected the world, rather than necessarily being an entirely different ending. It does put the world in a certain state, and different people in different states, but it's not a full-on video or different ending. Although I wouldn't say the ending is entirely disappointing. I did enjoy it, and it is nice that you are able to carry on exploring and doing most of the stuff you could do before, once you have actually completed the main campaign. But I just thought it was worth mentioning that, because some people might have thought that there were more variety in a bigger way to the end of the game. So this might be a little bit longer than I'm normally planning to do these reviews. They're supposed to be a bit quick, but they're just, with a game as big as The Witcher, they're going to be a little bit bigger. But yeah, so look out for these are going to be Chronic Casual reviews. I'm just going to be talking about the difficulties as I have, kind of comparing it to something else that I've understood. This is sort of like Dark Souls with a massive story that isn't just implied. And essentially, the Tilder, or the Too Long Didn't Read, it's epic fantasy, epic hack and slash. Give it a laugh, and it should be good go. And I do think that this is something that will be accessible for a lot of people. Obviously, there is the age rating that is a factor for some people, and maybe some of the violence and nudity and sexual content, which people have got really kind of uppity about, but isn't any more really than you would expect from a fantasy or medieval setting like this. Just think how Game of Thrones is. I don't think it's quite as extreme as that. And yeah, the combat is the only real thing that is going to be something that is possibly difficult for people with dexterity kind of issues and kind of quickness of playing issues might have difficulty with, but a bit of practice will make perfect, and it will become so much easier, and the whole game really is a rewarding, beautiful thing to play. So yeah, that was the first of my Chronic Casual reviews. I have a few more games up my sleeve that I've been playing through during this kind of blackout when I wasn't here. With Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, played through the campaign, and we're talking about Need for Speed, something that I'm playing at the moment, which I absolutely hate but can't stop playing, so that's an interesting one. Love-hate relationship going on there. Massive Chalice, some turn-based, interesting world-controlling kind of real-time strategy type fun. Child of Light, some platformy RPG, fantasy, fairy tale, rhyming couplet stuff, very interesting stuff there. Battlefield 4 is another one that went through recently. I've just been basically getting my hands on as many different things and just enjoying different worlds and different playings of things, especially, and just so I can talk about them with you as well, just having some fun, and yeah, see if any of these are your cup of tea as well. But I'm going to have to say Witcher 3 for me gets 11 out of 10. I just absolutely loved it. The ending could have been a little bit more spectacular, but once you've been playing something for 179 hours, you've kind of seen most of the things that you can see, and you've definitely got your money's worth out of it. So I'm very, very happy, and it's a beautiful thing, and I hope you, if you haven't already taken the plunge, check it out and enjoy yourself. And that's the important thing. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and just, I kind of want to say to other people out there that there's nothing wrong with being casual and just having fun. Competitiveness and snobbiness in gaming and anything geeky is just ridiculous, really. We should all be supporting each other and finding out ways that we can all play together and have fun, or at least find the things that we can play and have fun. So I'm always happy to discuss any of these games that we've already talked about. If people have suggestions of things they want me to talk about or want me to play and then talk about, I'm more than happy to do that. And if people want to respond to this and have give me their opinions as well, I'm more than welcome to listen to those. So I'm Darth Sebious. This has been Chronic Casual for Allies Index. That's alliesindex.com, a place for all things geeky gaming. We're on Tumblr, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, all those good places. We are also on Twitch. There's various of us. We've got AI Toxic, AI Savage, and The Sith and the Silent, which is myself and my partner Sarah. We're doing weekly Twitch streams of games on the old Xbox One. At the moment we have got alternating Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. We'll be back next Thursday at 12 PM GMT next week, next Thursday. on Twitch, and following the week after that we'll go back to, as we did today, so the video is going up rather shortly, will be Halo 3 ODST, going back to the Master Collection, having some newbie fun. That's me playing that one, so I do apologise. But yeah, once again, these should be a bit quicker next time, but this is Chronic Casual, Darth Sebious for Alex and Nex, and I'll catch you guys later. Taddy bye.